Hello, Youngstown Phantom fans. My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. Now, at one point in history, we had some witty banter in this spot, but this is our third time recording this episode for all of you. The first time was interrupted by Justin just disappearing from the call for 5 minutes. The second time, we managed to get through the episode, but we were both suffering from severe sleep deprivation, and the entire show sounded like a documentary about the side effects of Xanax. But now we are rested, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed, and ready to do this for a third time.
Hopefully. Only the third time.
Now, there is a reason we went through all of this trouble. This is a big episode for us. Our 50th show. There are also a handful of our short-form breakaway episodes and about 10 90-second weekend preview clips that we did that we would rather never mention ever again. But for this show, the mothership, the Dump and Chase podcast, this is the big 5-0. And you know, it seems like only yesterday we were all confused and felt like we were in over our heads, just hoping to do enough to get people to tune into the next week. So thankful that isn't the case anymore, right?
Yeah. That was just yesterday, I think.
Yeah. And now, chugging along with attempt number 3, how about we get into some news and notes?
Okay. I think we're well practiced on this, at least.
Yeah. All right, so to kick this off, first we're going to bring up former Phantom Georgi Merkulov, one of our favorites. October 15th, picked up his first NCAA goal with Ohio State. That was a 4-3 overtime win over UConn. He gets his first. I had made the joke a few times that he may have left a few of his sticks in the locker room and Bayard Hall found them. Unfortunately, I never bothered to look to see if they were the same hand shot. Turns out they are not. But that is the magic of Georgi Merkulov's sticks. He left some in the locker room. Bayard Hall picked one up. It immediately went from a left hand to a right hand, grew a couple inches longer. And you can see what Bayard has done with them this season.
Whatever it is, we just hope it's legal in this country.
The joke worked on its own until I found out that Georgie's a left-hander and Bayard's a right-hander. So doing what I can to save it.
Yeah.
So looking at some roster news, Primo Self, who came over in a trade right before the season started, it had showed up online that he had been sent to Maryland, the North American Hockey League. Apparently that wasn't meant to be. He ended up signing with the Surrey Eagles of the British Columbia Hockey League. So I guess, Primo, sorry to see you go. We very literally hardly knew you.
Yeah, I mean, seemed like a solid player. I'm sure his skill set will be appreciated in the BCHL. We could argue all day, which was the better choice. But, best of luck.
And a trade that happened this past week, a little bit of a head scratcher. We're not going to really get into too much speculation into what was going on here, but the Phantom sent Cole Birch and Cole Teleke to Cedar Rapids for defenseman TJ Schweighardt and a 2022 Phase 2 6th round pick. Cole Birch was our third leading scorer last season. Was expecting big things from him this year. Really bummed to see him go. Again, really no speculation on why this happened. We do know that last season, with Cedar Rapids shutting down, Schweighardt was taken in the dispersal draft by Omaha, who at the time their assistant GM was current Phantoms co-GM, Jason Deskins. So, I mean, there is some familiarity there. Jason knows him, knows what kind of player he is. I guess hopefully coming to Youngstown, it works out for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he has a very good degree of experience in the league. Solid defenseman, but then we give up, a pretty good scorer and a pretty solid defenseman. I don't know really what to make of it, but I guess we'll see here over the next couple of weeks if it was a good idea.
Now, one thing you had pointed out to me was that the article about the trade referenced a few times about Schweighardt being a right-hand shot. That kind of led to some more confusion for us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously right-handed shooting defensemen are kind of at a premium. That means you're left-hand dominant usually. There are less of them. Covering that side of the boards becomes, somewhat of an issue sometimes. But Telecki was also right-handed shooter, and we're pretty well balanced between right and left-handed. So yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of experience for a right-handed shooter. So, uh, you know, again, the next couple of weeks I think will show us if there, was wisdom to this deal.
Okay, and to wrap up this portion, real quick here, we just wanted to send our condolences and best wishes to the Fargo Force on the passing of their owner, Ace Brandt, who did pass away this past weekend, only 60 years old, far too young. But yeah, definitely sending our thoughts, well wishes, everything else out to Fargo for that.
Yeah. He was, I believe, the only owner in the team history. Was very big in, I guess, getting some renovations in the arena. So obviously a big loss, not just to Fargo, but I think to the whole league.
Okay, so with that, how about we move on to the weekend recap? So on October 8th and 9th, the Phantoms traveled to Wisconsin to take on the returning Madison Capitals. Phantoms lost the game on Friday 5-1, with the lone goal being scored by Ryan Alexander, his fourth of the season. As for the Saturday game, the Phantoms lost 7-0. So instead of 4 points this week, we're going to go with 1 point, what we liked. And that was the weekend recap. Now we're going to move on and see how things are looking in the Eastern Conference after the first month of play. Yeah, I would definitely say that was one of our faster weekend recaps.
Yeah, concise.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Eastern Conference standings here. At least not much has changed in the last couple of years right now. Chicago sitting in first in the East with 14 points. All 8 games they've played, they have gotten at least a point in those. Although half of their games have gone to overtime, so it seems like at least the beginning of the season, you're not seeing them blowing out teams like we've been used to seeing. Their games have been much tighter. Maybe a couple of those overtime games they didn't have any business losing, but did. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out as the season goes on. Second place, Madison Capitals, 11 points. We had made a joke before, kind of a joke, kind of a comparison of Madison kind of being the equivalent of an expansion team, with not being around for a year, a lot of roster turnover. Bench and front office turnover. So yeah, as far as being an expansion team, they're really following the pattern of the Vegas Golden Knights this season, really playing way over their heads. But yeah, so as far as an expansion team, yeah, a lot of Vegas Golden Knights going on here.
Yeah, and I guess that puts Cedar Rapids in the Seattle Kraken position.
Ooh, sorry, Everett.
And hopefully not us in the Nashville position.
Yeah. Okay. So sitting in third place, Dubuque with 9 points. Fourth place, Green Bay with 6. USA in the fifth position with 5 points. That's a little bit of an interesting one right off the bat. Team USA has played 9 games. The under 18s are 2-0-1 so far. The U17s are 0-6 and probably look the worst I have ever seen. The U17 squad, and that includes the one from a few years back that only won 4 games. But because the Jack Hughes-led U18s were so good, they still got into the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely quite a difference there. We know what the last year's U17s can do, and they're doing it. And yeah, this year's U17s, they're not doing it.
Well, when the Phantoms played the U17s a couple weeks ago, you had made the point to me, what was it about William Whitelaw that he was not good enough to play on this squad? Because we know what we saw at tryout camp, and we know what we saw that weekend up in Plymouth.
It is certainly conspiracy theory time.
Okay, so going back to the standings here, in 6th place, and right now, the final playoff spot is Youngstown with 4 points. Muskegon is in 7th place with 4 points. I don't know what the tiebreaker is there that somehow we're a spot above them, but right now I'll take it.
I believe it's goals for at this point is what we lead them in. So
yeah, Muskegon usually has pretty good starts to the season. So their play, or I guess their lack of play so far, has been a little eye-opening the first month of this season.
Yeah. What I saw at the Fall Classic was impressively bad.
Yeah. And in last place in the East, who also happens to be the subject of our weekend preview, that is the returning Cedar Rapids Rough Riders. So, yes, the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders currently on this season, 1 win, 4 losses. That is good for 2 points. And like I said, last in the Eastern Conference. They are coming into this weekend on a 3-game losing streak. Also, in their 5 games played this season, they have only scored 9 goals. So offense is really lacking in Cedar Rapids right now, although a good chunk of their offense just got traded to them. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, this will be Youngstown's first trip to Cedar Rapids. This will be their first game in Cedar Rapids since February 1st, 2020, which works out to 630 days. Again, as Cedar Rapids was one of the teams that had to shut down last season. Nothing to do with COVID, everything to do with just those awful Midwest storms that kind of blew through there and pretty much took out a very large chunk of their building.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of impressed that they got it repaired as quickly as they did.
So this Friday, October 22nd, and Saturday, October 23rd, again, the Phantoms will be in Cedar Rapids. Both of these games, the puck drop will be at 8:05 Eastern. Both will be available on Hockey TV. So for this one, we're going to do something a little different we don't typically do. We're going to dive a little deeper into this matchup and look at the tail of the tape. So comparing these two teams, we'll start with this first stat. Youngstown going into this game is averaging 3 goals a game. Cedar Rapids is averaging 0.55 goals per game. Youngstown is giving up 3.7 goals per game. Cedar Rapids is giving up 3.8 goals per game. Now we're going to get into the special teams, and there's actually a very specific reason we're doing this. Right now, Youngstown on the power play, they are ranked last in the Eastern Conference. Cedar Rapids is ranked 4th, so right in the middle. Also want to point out, of the 9 goals that Cedar Rapids has scored this season, 5 of them have been on the man advantage. Now, as far as the penalty kill, Youngstown looks a lot better, sitting in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. Cedar Rapids, they are 6th on their penalty kill. And of the 19 goals that Cedar Rapids has given up this season, 8 of them have been well shorthanded. Now, I bring all this up because probably I'm a stats geek. It's pretty much out there at this point. This has to be the most surprising stat I've seen ever in my time as a Youngstown Phantoms fan. So far, a month into the season, the Youngstown Phantoms have 52 penalty minutes. That is the least in the entire USHL. Things you'd never thought you'd see.
Nope.
But there it is.
Yeah, that's up there with Bayard Hall bearing a backhander on a shorthanded breakaway.
So right there, because as I just pointed out, more than half of Cedar Rapids' goal production has come on the power play. Youngstown has managed so far to stay out of the box. Cedar Rapids, 138 penalty minutes. That is the most in the USHL. Doing the quick math in my head, I believe that works out to an average of about 27 penalty minutes a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that special teams are going to, or lack of them, will be a key factor in this weekend. We just have to stay disciplined and let them do their thing.
Yeah. Another little wrinkle to this matchup that if you have Hockey TV, you will see this weekend. If not, you will see it next weekend at the Cavelli Center. Cedar Rapids is starting to look a little like Youngstown West right now. 20% of their roster is made up of
skaters,
players, skaters who played with the Phantoms last season, as a matter of fact. Nate Hanley, of course, he was a Cedar Rapids player. The Phantoms took him in last season's dispersal draft. Wasn't around very long. After 14 games, he was traded to Green Bay. And of course, this year his rights went back to Cedar Rapids, so he's back in Iowa. Yusako Ando was traded to Cedar Rapids in an off-season trade. So far this season, 5 preseason games, no points. He has played in 4 of 5 of the Rough Riders games, only 1 assist in those 4 games. We loved Ando while he was here. Very highly touted when he came in, even though he was a very, very late phase 2 round pick. Yeah, so seems to be having a little trouble getting his feet under him in Cedar Rapids. Hopefully he gets it together, just not in the next 2 weeks. And of course we mentioned earlier Cole Teleke, 6 games with Youngstown this season, 2 assists. He was sent off to Cedar Rapids, as well as Cole Birch. 38 points last season with Youngstown. That was good for 3rd behind Jack Malone and Georgi Merkulov on the team. So far in 1 game with Cedar Rapids, 2 goals and 1 assist. So of Cedar Rapids' 9 goals, 2 of them were scored by Cole Birch last weekend, and was named the USHL Forward of the Week. So that felt good.
Yeah.
Already on top of the confusion of sending away Cole Birch and then he wins Forward of the Week. Yeah, that felt good.
Yeah. It was definitely great to see him in the, social media picture for USHL Player of the Week, wearing a Phantoms jersey, winning the award for Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
And I'd like to point out that, Cole Birch was our returning lead scorer from last year. Playing in the USHL, had we not traded him, the player after him would have been Ando.
Mm-hmm.
So, out of the players that we returned to the USHL from last year, our top 2 scorers are now on Cedar Rapids.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Justin, coming into this weekend, what do you see will be the key or keys? Go a little Phil Bork on here, the old 2-9er. What are your keys to victory this weekend? I can't think of any better way to ask that.
I think we need to find some way to score. In the games that we've lost, we've lost 4. 2 of them have been shutouts. One was a 2-goal game. One was a 1-goal game. We got to find ways to put pucks in the net. If we can't do it on the power play, we're going to have to do it 5-on-5. If we can get scoring and hopefully take advantage of the power play, I think there will be no problem taking Cedar Rapids off their game and getting some easy points. If we can't, it could be a very long weekend. Again.
For me, I think I would like to see the defense chipping in a little more around the crease. Help the goaltenders out. I mean, by no stretch of the imagination has Kyle Chavette and Owen Bartoskevich been bad, I don't think. Especially last weekend with Madison, they really kind of got hung out to dry quite a few times. So hopefully with having the week off and things being worked on, hopefully one of those things was a little more support in front of the net. Kind of help them out and take a little bit of the load off of them.
Yeah, all 5 skaters need to help out in the defensive zone.
Okay, I think we're safe. We made it through this one. I guess 3rd time is the charm. You did hit record, right?
I guess I should check.
Yeah.
Remind me tomorrow. Remind me tomorrow to export. I'm gonna run some Windows updates tonight.
Okay. All right, so we made it through. How about we hop on the carousel and get the HE double hockey sticks out of here? Okay, so as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by hockeyfan.com. The articles there are coming fast and furious. This has to be the most consistent you have been since I got involved and gave you more work to do.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I have a little bit more time lately, so.
Well, so far so good, so. Okay, so you can also check us out at our syndication partner, OhioHockeyDigest.com. If there is anything you want to know or need to know about every level of hockey in the state of Ohio, go check out ohiohockeydigest.com. Now, if you look in the description of this episode, you'll find a link to our Linktree page. Click or tap on that, and you'll have all the links to all of our social media, YouTube, audio podcast links, and everything else in our Dump and Chase universe. Oof. Worst movie franchise ever. Yeah, the origin stories would be very unbelievable and not relatable at all.
Yeah, these characters need to be rewritten.
All right, so we'll be back next week to recap this weekend, as well as look ahead to a 3-game weekend at the Covelli Center. So whether you're in Youngstown, Lincoln, Nebraska, Atlanta, Georgia, Frankfurt, Germany, Victoria, British Columbia, or Sydney, Australia, we thank you for listening along. For Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. Mr. DJ, play us out. Oh, that's me. And hitting play now.